Hi guys, happy Monday. Hope that you're doing well today. Hope it was a productive day for you. It truly was in on our corner of the world. I'm just gonna pick up where I left off yesterday evening, and we were talking about the amazing power we have within us to create, to be like God in that regard. Now, don't get it twisted. Pastor Pete didn't say you are God, so don't. Whoa, back up. Said you're like God. We were made in God's image and likeness, and like God, we're creators. We have within us that divine ability. Just by divine design, we have that ability to be able to create. That's why we talk about our words, our creative force. We can create good, bad, and ugly just with our words. We can create in our imagination. We can create the things that we desire to come, and then work out the details and fill them in, and move ourselves along that in order to manifest that. And so we were talking about how to create with God is to create like God. Now, we can create without God and create a hot mess. But if we choose to create with God, we can create like God. And so if we're trying to revamp things in our life, like we've been talking about, if we're peeling back the natural in our physical life, our mental life, emotional, every aspect of us, if we're wanting to take a close look and get rid of the stuff that we pretend to be and get down to the really real of ourselves, then it behooves us, it would encourage us to go about taking a look at that God's way. If we're trying to return back, like we were talking about, get back to us, it would be about getting back to God's order of things. Now, if you remember in Genesis 1, those of you that are familiar with the Genesis story, out of this chaos and confusion that we have in Genesis verse 1 and 2, that whole tohu wabohu, that chaos that was just wreaking havoc at the moment. There was all this disorder. And in disorder, in confusion, in chaos, God spoke. And what was shared that God shared at that time, and we have to trust that God has passed these messages along to his messengers to get us the accuracy of this. But the first order of business, and I think about that, whether we're seeking to, whether it's addiction or whether it's emotional situation, relational situation, mental stuff, physical stuff, whatever the issue or the concern, business stuff. Think about this for just a second. God said, in the middle of all that stuff that was going on, God said, let there be light. Now, if we go back to the original, what was originally said, it was light exist, light be. And the darndest thing happened. Light just came forth. Now, the word that was used there, the Hebrew word for light, meaning illumination, it is a word that is used in regard to gaining knowledge, gaining wisdom, gaining fresh revelation. So when I think about that, I'm like, let there be wisdom. Hey, speaking into our situations, let there be wisdom, let there be knowledge, let there be illumination, let there be fresh revelation. Okay, and so that's a good place to start. Awareness is always a good place to start. Let's create some awareness about whatever it is that you specifically are concerned about. And so when we dig a little bit deeper, we find that and we go through the books of the Bible, and we land in the Gospels where Jesus shows up, and we find in John chapter 1, we learn that it tells us everything was created through Christ. Nothing, not one thing, came into being without him. So Christ has this creative ability, okay, creative essence. And so what came into existence was life. I love this. And the life was light to live by. And the life, that Christ life, that anointed life, and the life was light to live by. It says the life light blazed out of the darkness and the darkness couldn't put it out. I love that. And because it's speaking about Christ, but also as I think about this particular light, as we embrace that Christ anointing, as we embrace that, I keep using that word essence, but that is truly as we receive Christ, as we receive the fullness, as we desire our lives to align with Christ, to be Christ-like. Okay? That word in the Greek, it means to make manifest. Okay? So what came into existence was life, and the life was to make manifest, to live by, an illumination to live by. And he goes on to say, with reasoning, with the mind, with understanding. So and you know how I do. If I'm going to go back to the creation story, if I'm going back to Genesis, if we're going to have a Genesis moment, let there be understanding. Let there be reasoning. Let's make some sense out of what we're about to take on and to start doing. Okay? And so as we've been talking about, we spent the first third of our study together. Let's breaking some stuff down and being aware of some things. And now let's start building on that. Okay? Let's start shedding some light into these dark places. Okay? The dark places, the places that we may or may not want to go. It's those places of truth where our essence, where our being lies. And so wanting to get down in there and shine a light into that place and just really look at it for real. And see, it's interesting to me that when I first got into ministry, one of the very first books that I received was a book on meditation. And it was talking about how Christ would always leave the group and go away and then come back filled up, ready to do whatever the next thing is. And so as I walked that path of, as a clergy person and growing in the knowledge of the word and growing in the knowledge of what this meant to be pastor, to be a teacher, to be a minister, to be an apostle, to be, an evangelist, and you're walking through this stuff and learning this stuff over the years, I have had great reward in my heart from the times that I've spent alone with Christ, just looking at things for real. Now, another word that is used for that is meditation. It's about opening up and looking at things for real, shedding some light into our hearts, shedding light into our lives. And I know there was a season, a really long season there, where Christians were like, oh, that's all new age stuff. That's all, ooh, that's not Christ-like. Well, that's not true. Because we're encouraged to meditate on the word day and night. We're encouraged to meditate in those places where we go into deep intercession, where we go into prayer, and we're looking at things deeply. I want to encourage you to do that through this study. I want to encourage you truly to peel back the natural, those things you've been seeing about you on the surface. And if there is anything there that bothers you, or places where things that just keep coming up and you're like, I want to get rid of that. Okay, well, look at it deeply. Know tonight that I'm praying for you as you do that. Because that could be a fearful place. Hey, I've been there. I know exactly what you're, might be experiencing, because to look at things deeply sometimes means to deal with the feelings that come up with it. But I encourage you to shed that Christ light in your heart. Shed that Christ light of reasoning and illumination and say, God, I need some fresh revelation on this subject so I can just let go and move forward. Again, we're always, as we're walking through this, I'm available to you. You want to talk together. You want to pray together. You want to reason together. Want to share, testify to the illumination. Feel free to message us back. Again, hope you had a great Monday. I pray that you get the rest that you need this evening. We're going to continue with this study in regard to light. And I just pray and just proclaim, let there be light in your life, and may it bring life into you, illuminate, shine the brightest light of possibility within you. Know tonight that I love you, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye now.